Alright guys, I want to welcome you all back to some more of the House in Fata Morgana short stories. So we're pretty much nearing the end of this part of the game, and we're about to continue onwards to reincarnation. But so far guys, I am loving these short stories. And most importantly, I want to thank you all for the love and support you all continue to show. And so currently we have 3 stories to tell, and yeah, they're all pretty short surprisingly, but they are like very significant in their own right. So if anything else guys, I hope you all continue to enjoy. Let's keep it rolling. Alright guys, we are now starting off with the story of A Ghost of an Excuse. I saw a ghost, Giselle said as she entered my bedchamber. She was wearing night clothes, and the feeble light of the candle in her hand made her look more pouty than scared. I thought you didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. What do you want me to say? I saw what I saw. And that was supposed to be convincing? Are you sure it wasn't something else? I'm positive. There was a white finger going all ooh at me in the hall. With each ooh, she took another step toward me until she was close enough to grab me by the collar and throw me to the ground. Why did she seem angry at me and not the white figure hooting at her in the corridor? So what do you want from me then? Don't make me spell everything out. What did she expect from me? She knew I wasn't very adept at reading people. How was I supposed to know what she wanted? Wait, slow down. It wasn't good to give up without giving it any thought. I need to at least attempt to reason out what she may have been thinking. 1. She wanted me to exorcise the ghost. 2. She thought I was the ghost. 3. She wanted more light in the mansion. 1's not reasonable. How am I supposed to exercise something that doesn't exist? 2's out of the question. And there's only so much I can do about 3 with my supply of candles. What are you going on about? Crap, I've been thinking out loud. She stared up at me for a few seconds before letting out a dramatic sigh. The sigh was 98% exasperation and 2% what seemed like almost lust, but I wasn't certain. I wanted you to offer to let me sleep with you tonight. It took a good 15 seconds to process what she had said, after which all I could manage to get out was a flaccid, "What?" Giselle's face was bright red, and I was sure mine was no better. She felt warmer than usual through her nightclothes. I wasn't sure if it was because the fabric was thin or she was just warm, or maybe it was both. Giselle giggled, nuzzling my neck. It was an impressively quick turnaround for someone who had been pouting at me only minutes before. In a way, it felt somewhat like having a dog or a cat. At first we were both nervous, but that quickly melted away, leaving only comfort and warmth. Body heat belonging to neither of us, and both. Sweetness. I never could have imagined the day would come where I welcomed someone else's touch as much as I did hers. We'll get you used to this eventually. Do you really think I'll be able to? Of course. Before you know it, this will be nothing. In some ways, it's kind of sad. Sure, it can be. But the happy will be stronger than the sad. Something becoming every day isn't a bad thing, I don't think. I suppose. She was probably right. Her becoming a natural part of my life was a good thing. But then, the closer she got, the harder it would get to be apart again. In time, would we get close enough that touch was just a completely normal thing for me? Would I be comfortable touching her arms or her lips? Would I be able to open myself up to her entirely? And would she accept me for who I was? I hope so. To all of it. You're so tall, Michelle. It's wonderful. Why do you say that? Well, I'm the tallest one in my family. My big sister's so small, and she's the most precious thing in the world. I've always been jealous of her for that. Like she's more of a girl than me. I bet her wedding was absolutely lovely, too. That's a surprise. You're perfect just the way you are, though. Oh, really? That's not what you said when I first arrived. I've grown, thank you. Her breath tickled my neck as she laughed. So I love the way I can just fit entirely in your arms. Sorry I couldn't be buff for you, too. Hey, you're never going to let me live that down, are you? Just a little payback. Boo, she said, looking up at me and pouting. Her jade eyes seemed to glimmer even in the dark. They were beautiful, but I would keep that thought to myself. I didn't want to ruin the moment with what would sound like cheap flirting. This glimmer was worth so much more than that. as for she. Giselle. Hmm? Giselle. I'm so glad to have you in my life. Good night. Wow, that was a nice little short story. Okay, we can finally move on to the next page. Okay, I honestly can't pronounce that. Eternal Mayhe? Maze? I don't know how to pronounce that guy, so Eternal it is. Are you okay, Orlando? A single flower out of place in that den of body odor and booze charged across the pub to the table at the back where he sat. She had radiant golden hair, as though she carried the sun itself on her shoulders. All the other men paused their drinking and merrymaking to get a look. The flower was out of breath by the time she reached his table. Orlando was a tall, lanky man with thin eyebrows, hardly what one might have assumed a lady as refined as her would be interested in. And the bandages wrapped around his head, covering one eye, only served to enhance the discount villain image. A man somewhere in the pub let out a whistle. Princess and the Thief, a match made in hell. Orlando glared over at him for a few moments before the young lady shouted, "What happened to you?" directly in his face. "Don't shout like that, Philippa." "Jesus, you're trying to make me go deaf?" "Then tell me what happened. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Will it get better?" "It's no big deal, really. You know what they say, scars are trophies." "Oh yeah, you see any good eye patches out in the market today?" "Something black would be great." "Real nice and fancy. Dress it up a bit." Orlando chuckled and shrugged his shoulders, but Philippa's frown only deepened. Okay, these two are new. I don't remember an Orlando or Philippa. "Do you want people to think you're a pirate and throw you into the sea?" Philippa pounded on the table in response. In the span of about 30 seconds, she had gone through the entire spectrum of emotions: sad, angry, upset, worried, disappointed. "Listen, Orlando," she said with a sigh. "We've been together our whole lives. Don't you think you should have come to see me first? I've been worried sick ever since I heard how things went in Castle. So when I saw the soldiers coming back, I just had to know you were okay. Why would you keep me waiting like that?" If Philippa was going to be this blunt, Orlando couldn't continue messing around. She stole a chair from somewhere, threw it beside him, and dropped down into a single action entirely unbefitting of an upper-class lady. Then she leaned in and said, "So?" "So what?" "So tell me all about the battle at Castle, in detail, to make up for all the time you made me spend worrying. It's no fairy tale, you know. It's bloody and violent, not to mention it was a losing battle. I still want to know," she said, leaning in even closer, her vivid hazel eyes unflinching. "It's about you. Of course I want to know." He dropped his shoulders and sighed, feigning defeat. Everyone at the pub knew it was just an act, that Orlando had feelings for this enchanting childhood friend of his. In reality, he wanted to jump out of his chair and start dancing when she barged in looking for him. His other mercenary companions had caught on quickly to the reason he joined, the reason he needed the money, and they watched warmly. There was only one person there who didn't know yet: Philippa herself. But it was only a matter of time. They had been close their whole lives after all. "I can't regale you with tales of valor and triumph, but if you insist," Orlando said to preface his account. And then he told her of their battle at Castle, of their fallen comrades, of the state of the war. Their homeland was at war with the Western kingdoms. Battle broke out across the land, and mercenaries were hired to compensate for the lack of soldiers. Orlando grew up in a port town, but instead of becoming a fisher, he decided to take up the sword. His childhood friend Philippa chastised him repeatedly, doing everything she could to stop him from going to war. But Orlando was firm in his resolve. His first battle was 4 years ago, and he was surprised he had survived as long as he did. But now that he'd lost an eye, Orlando figured it was probably time to pack it in. He'd saved up a decent amount of money anyway. Orlando knew Philippa's parents wouldn't approve, but he was sure he had enough to convince them of his love, because love was the only second when it came to someone so far above your own status, which was why he hadn't become a fisher. Orlando took up the mantle of a mercenary to save enough money to propose marriage to the daughter of a wealthy merchant family. That was what he lived for. "Hey, Philippa." Finishing his account of the battle, Orlando straightened himself up in his seat. Philippa raised an eyebrow. "Yes? What is it?" The soldiers at the nearby table started grinning, thinking it was finally time, but he wasn't going to propose to her in a grungy pub. He was planning to invite her somewhere more fitting when... "Greetings, brave warriors," came a booming voice at the door. "I celebrate your fine efforts out on the battlefield. And to commemorate, my crew and I offer you these meager gifts. Orlando clicked his tongue as loud as he could manage. Why the hell did he have to show up now of all times? Standing at the door was, in Orlando's words, a yellow-skinned bastard whose face looked like a lizard crushed by a pot lid. The man was the captain of a trading vessel that had quickly expanded its business over the past few years. Orlando didn't like him not only because he was an outsider, but because he had sweet-talked and bought his way into the upper crust. The man's crew carried barrels of wine to the pub, and every single soldier's face lit up, except Orlando's. He just frowned, trying to make it clear he wouldn't be bought so easily. Oh, why hello there, Philippa. Fancy meeting you here. Seeing the man getting friendly with her just irritated him even more. And then when he walked over and put his hand on her shoulder, Orlando snapped, kicking his chair back and almost charging at the man. Get your filthy hands off her, you ape. Back off, Philippa, is mine. We have important things to discuss right now. Get the hell out of here, con man. But Orlando didn't manage to say anything. It really is quite the coincidence. Orlando's jaw dropped. Philippa's cheeks were flushed, her gaze turned toward her feet, her arms held straight down at her center with her fingers interlocking. He had never seen her like that before. The rough, pushy, unrefined girl she was for him was because he was just her longtime friend to Philippa. In the 4 years Orlando had spent saving up to propose, another man wealthy by birth had come in and beat him to the punch. He learned that night that it was the haves who made the world go around and the have-nots like him who were only along for the ride. As much as you may insist otherwise, you really do care, Orlando, Philippa's daughter, Pauline, said with a bright smile. The many years since that night had relieved Orlando of both his youth and his optimism. I feel bad enough as it is. Please don't take advantage of me, he said, his voice softer and his tone lighter now. With his last mission ended in failure, Orlando gave up being a mercenary and took up somewhat less exciting work. Sometimes a bodyguard, sometimes just carrying boxes, but never anything terribly life-threatening. I think I might take full advantage of this. Thanks, see you in a bit. Pauline's smile was vibrant, something she got from her mother. Oh, wow, okay. Her hair was black like her father's, though. He could see both of them in her, and it tore him apart sometimes, dragging him back to his younger days. After watching her scamper off into the village, Orlando turned his head up toward the sky. Stop thinking about it. Just focus on what you have to do. He needed to convince Pauline that there was nothing to find here, then bring her back home. Philippa would be furious with him. She might even end all association with him for this. But he was not going to let her go off on this search with some stranger and get herself killed. So his only choice was to go himself and then bring her back. Okay, we did know of these characters. It's just they were hardly there. That's why I forgot about them. Okay, so this is the guy that was helping Pauline find Yukimasa. Orlando heaved his sigh and headed into the village. He prayed nothing would happen to her. Alright, that was the end of that story. Alright, let's check out the Maid and the Beast. Or should it be going down this way and then finally go this way, right? You know what? It's okay. I guess it doesn't matter what order we go in, right? As soon as I started learning how to talk, the human woman began bombarding me with questions. After we finished weeding a section of the garden and returned to the mansion, she would waste no time asking, "What would you like for supper?" followed quickly by, "How did you enjoy last night's supper?" And if I were to redecorate, "Is there any particular theme you would like me to adhere to?" But she didn't stop at queries of only questionable significance. What is your favorite color? What is your favorite season? What is your favorite number? What is your favorite flower? I understood what she asked, but I didn't react to most of it. Because if I did, she would latch on to me like a fly to a carcass, and I did not want to deal with that. Besides, even if I could speak the human tongue fluently, it wouldn't suddenly make me talkative. That just wasn't me. Not to mention, it would be wrong for a beast and a human woman to be chatting together like friends. The human did not seem to comprehend my displays of disinterest, though. One day, she handed me a stick of charcoal and a slab of wood, saying if words are too difficult, we can try pictures instead. Where had she even gotten these things? First, try drawing me. This is only practice, so do not worry about making it perfect. Draw however you wish. I wanted to crush the charcoal, smash the wood against the ground, and get away, but she started talking again before I had the chance. Sometime long ago, someone else painted a portrait of me as well. It was so very long ago that sometimes I am unsure whether it was real or merely a dream jumbled up in my memories. But I remember how it felt, how anxious they were drawing, and how delighted I was for them to be drawing me. And sitting here with you feels like it brings me ever so slightly closer to the woman I was then. The human woman often spoke of events that happened centuries ago, so this was hardly unusual for her. So please, would you draw for me? Oh, sorry, would you draw me? Your doing so would help to calm my spirits if you would rather not speak. All the insistence in the world would not make a beast any more capable of creating art. I wanted to throw the stool against the wall and storm out of the room, but the look in her eyes stopped me. Her gaze was more tenuous than usual, as though refusal would send her over the edge. I loathed it. So I took the charcoal in my unsteady hand. If a horrendous drawing from a horrendous beast would bring her back, then she would have her drawing. What I created, though, was nothing more than scratches of charcoal crudely imitating shapes. It hardly even resembled a child's doll, let alone her. Looking down on it with a soft laugh, the woman said, "It's beautiful." I knew very little about the human woman, and I doubted that would ever change. Wow, we're getting hit with a lot of really short stories, if anything. Okay. How about a slice of sweet serenity of days long lost? Part 1, Part 2. You know what? For now, guys, we already went over, like, I think, how many stories? Let's see. Went over 1, 2, 3. Alright, I'll end it here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're going to end up reading up on A Slice of Sweet Serenity 1 and 2, and then we'll move on to Sisterhood Secrets. I'll go in that order just because. Thank you again. Until the next one.